Our tax base in Blaine is not all that different than the other tax bases that exist in our suburban communities across the metropolitan area and across really our country. We have a residential component and we have a business component. What I will say is simply this: our local tax base here in the city of Blaine is heavily tilted and actually disproportionately tilted too far toward the residential end. In short, we really need to begin to focus intently not only on our residential development but also on business development. It's important for not only the short term but really the long-term future and health of our economy. So that's the first thing. Secondly, budget deficits. In 2012, and again next year in 2013, the City of Blaine is going to run a budget deficit. Last year the budget deficit, as I understand it, was much larger than this coming year. The budget deficits are really driven by a number of different reasons, and they have both a short-term and a long-term component, and short-term and long-term solutions. So let's start with the short-term solutions first. There are really three solutions that we have, three levers that we have at our disposal today to fill or to solve the budget gap. And the City Council, both last year and this year, has selected the same option in resolving these matters. We can either raise taxes, or we can decrease spending, or we can borrow from our budget reserve, which is similar to our saving accounts that we have at our homes, to fill this budget gap. The City Council has chosen to borrow from our budget reserve and, in a sense, kick the can down the road and delay and defer very important and very difficult decisions to the future. If I were on the City Council, I can promise you that in the short term I would be a proponent of cutting spending. So that's the first thing. On the long term end, we have many more options at our disposal to avoid and actually build in confidence that we will not have budget deficits in the future. Those solutions consist of continuing the residential development that we've started in this city. We've built some very beautiful residential communities. We have some very vibrant communities across the entire city. We've got a lot of homeowners that are reinvesting their homes in all price ranges, and really we're doing a great job, I think, residentially here in the city of Blaine. At the same time that we're focusing on residential development, we also have to expand our business tax base. It's very, very important to rebalance the distribution and the ratio of our tax base between residential and business. By expanding business, we're not only sharing that tax base, but we're also creating additional jobs and additional spending into our community. That additional spending will beget, I believe, additional business development in the city and will make for a much brighter future. Third, we also need to balance city infrastructure to our revenue sources. We cannot grow government at the pace of revenue, even if city revenue increases. An example of that is the City Hall that we have today, a very beautiful building, was built in a different time and built for expansion. And we have a completely vacant third level to that building that was completely unnecessary, or at least has been so up to this point. Fourth, and this is a very important one, and that is that we need to implement processes in our city government to ensure and to build confidence that we have lean government operations to avoid growth in those same operational areas of government and to avoid growth in the cost of delivering the same services to residents and businesses in the future.